This is the Actor Factor podcast with Brad Ashton and Diego Garcia. Today's guest is talent agent Amy Luker.
Another day.
What's up, Brad?
Another podcast. How are you, Diego? It's Diego and Brad. And this is the Actor Factor.
And
what do you got going on today? Anything special today on this beautiful, beautiful day?
I did have an audition yesterday. Well,
yesterday, how'd it go?
And are we always just like waiting to hear back anymore, or not?
Yeah, no, I guess not. You do and forget about it, right?
You really do. And I think I've done that until you just asked me what.
Are you thinking about it?
No, man. You know what? Did I do it right? Can I do it over?
Yeah. What was your character? What did you play?
Man, you're really asking me to pull back to yesterday?
Yeah, man. I want to figure it out. I want to ask you about, what was it? How did it go? I want to know.
Actually, it was really funny.
Yeah. Commercial, theatrical?
Yeah, look, I play golf. I play golf. I love the game. Yeah. This was one of my first auditions by 22 years where if I were to get it, there's probably going to be a golf club in my hand. It'll be like at a golf course on a tee box with golfers. And I always think that's cool, working with either golfers or like a professional baseball player or something like that. It was always
doing a spot with.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, so when I get into the commercial business, you're like, what characters do I want to work with? Yeah. There's the gecko, and then there's Tommy Lasorda.
Hey, man, you're making me got the extremes there. Sorry, Tommy Lasorda.
Rest in peace.
Man, that's great. That's fantastic. So you feel like it went good though, but it's cool. It's for golf, something. For
it was just just a couple lines, something about a rock star stepping in from the bushes and
that'd be neat.
Saying, you guys swing those clubs, but we play the clubs.
Oh, man, nice.
Like lines like that.
Nice. Nice. And you did mention you do have your Geico spot running, which is really cool. You do have the Geico going back, came back with you're eating the cookies. And
that's
the nutmeg in there? What is that? Come on, you can tell me.
Well,
that was just
when I said cinnamon to him and looked that gecko in the eyes, I knew that I had figured something out.
How was it working with him?
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah. Now the diva, because you got to hear sometimes.
Honestly, we did so many takes. He's so giving.
Yeah. That's amazing, man.
But actually, in truth, they have a voice that actually works on set. Yeah. They have matches that I can't say that he's the actual voice that recorded the spot. Although,
but they have a guy.
I'd be so surprised because we're there able to improv in the moment. He's just off camera, so we can kind of just go wherever we go amongst the guidelines of where they wanted the commercial to go. They wanted me to figure out what the secret recipe was, and we kind of went about it in so many different ways. But it was cool. Otherwise, it would have been really stale, right? Just saying the same lines and then hoping that they squeeze in his lines in between. That would be.
So do you find as an actor when you're on set like that, this is a great question to ask. When you're there, do you prefer to have, somebody, the other actor acting opposite you or somebody who sounds exactly like that person if they're going to be off camera and you have to act to that? Does that really help you? Or would you rather just everybody get out of my eyesight, get out of my, let me do it. Let me act opposite myself for a minute.
Wow. I feel like I want somebody there.
Yeah.
As long as they're going to give you something, because we do take energy from people
100%.
To create our own energy. Yeah, we've dove in. We're trying to get those emotions wherever they need to be. But to see and look into someone's eyes and just really communicate, I think honestly that would be the best.
Yeah. At least having the voice. So that's good with the Geico commercial. They had a voice, a guy or a female doing the voice.
It was a guy, and he is a professional. He is a voice match along with 4 others that travel around to do these Geico spots.
Yeah.
And so that actors can work off of an actual voice.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was fun. It was interesting.
I don't do any commercials, as you know. They don't cast me. They don't like me in them, so I don't do them. But that's interesting, That's really cool. And
I don't know how I've gotten them over the years. It's weird, man.
No, you're really good. That's why, man. It's not acting; it's reacting, and you have great reactions, which I guess is why it's good that they had somebody reading the gecko opposite you, so you have a more genuine reaction.
That's true.
And the commercial looks great, and it sells it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because he's off camera and you're actually looking at this little bitty miniature gecko at your foot for eye line. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there like.
How cool. Well, plastic, is it plastic foam?
No, kind of a little foamy, like soft.
You could believe it's real if you were passing by and just looking at it for a second.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, just a giant. That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. No, but what were we talking about? Oh, this audition yesterday. Just golf. Just like things you'd like to, when I got into the business, right, you just kind of, you kind of hope to get certain things under your belt, you know. It's like I was a baseball player growing up. I would love to do a spot where I'm playing baseball or throwing the baseball or something like that. You know? And that was the same with I play golf. So I would love to do a golf spot, you know, things like that.
Yeah. I had a few months ago, I had an audition for White Man Can't Jump. They're doing a remake.
Nice.
And I'm like, just as a random basketball guy. It's almost like a featured extra is how I felt, but it came from my agent who we'll be talking to at some point. And so we can ask about that. And I didn't get it. And I was like really upset. I'm like, I could be a guy playing basketball. Like, let me just come down there and play basketball.
You're actually a really great basketball player.
Hey, thanks.
From what I remember.
Yeah, I'm still okay, man.
You asked me to play. You asked me to play a lot. And then I remember I just stopped showing up because I'm not that great.
But you're tall and people want you because you're tall.
If I could just stand under the net and
but
that running back and forth thing.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at now. I'm like, no, man. I'm running the lunch. I'm running the dinner. That's about it, man. I'm running if the parking meter maids out here are trying to ticket my car if I stay there too long at the meter, which I don't actually do in Hollywood. This is Hollywood, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood.
The super famous Ventura Boulevard.
Ventura Boulevard. That is it. Oh, if you guys don't know,
if you're watching,
this is Chip right here. If anybody is watching the live stream that we're doing, we're here. This is Chip. This is Diego. I'm Brad. This is the Actor Factor. Be sure to check us out. You know, daily, weekly. I don't know. Just check out our podcast. Listen, tune in. It's very informative stuff. Diego, how long have you been in the business? When do you think you started? I mean, let's start with let's go with just TV and film. When did you get to LA to really give it a go in your career?
Yeah, that's a good question because you can go back to like, oh, I was inspired to be an actor back in high school. But but really going for it and
when
decide and be like, you know what, if you're going to be in a city and try.
Yeah.
I moved out in May of '99. So I think that's 22 years, going on 23 coming up this next year.
Wow. Yeah.
And I guess the one thing I remember the most, though, getting into it was like everyone said, getting an agent was key.
Yeah.
But that was really difficult because you're non-union. Right?
Yeah.
You're not even in the union yet.
It's the catch-22.
And they wanted you to be union. So they were like, get these vouchers. And I'm like, vouchers? Okay.
Yeah. Who do I got to pay for that?
So I did the best thing and just got a job at a talent agency.
Yeah.
Right. And then just started working there and just, it was like old school, You were there. You were there too. You came over and did that too. And it was
careers and run around the town.
When you were actually carrying around a bunch of headshots that are so unnecessary now. I feel like.
Oh yeah. They were out there in the mailroom pulling dozens and dozens and dozens. And we were running stacks and stacks and stacks plus VHS tapes and reels.
And then running all across town to drop off to casting agencies. And what an easy way for us to drop off our headshots.
That's right.
Like it was a time we were just getting involved. We didn't give an F. You know what I mean? Yeah. We were like, we're going to be seen. People need to know we're in town. That's kind of vibe, right? It's like LA doesn't know what has hit them yet. Yeah,
that's right. Until they see me, I'm here. Get ready. But no,
22 years.
That's great, man. That's a career right there.
And you were out here around the following year?
Yeah, I got out
like 01
I was doing Hamlet in San Diego, Carlsbad technically, but in San Diego I was doing Hamlet in '99.
That's right.
And then after that, I went back to Houston, and then I came back out here, and then I went to Chicago.
I remember.
Yeah, and then I came back out here, then I went to New York, and then I came back out here. Yeah, man, I was getting distracted and pulled in. Mike Rice, who we both know, when he was living in Chicago, wanted me to come out there and start a theater with him. Because I had just started Independent Players in San Diego and we were doing plays, and we were just starting. He's like, oh man, can you come out here and help me start a theater? So I was like, shit. So I put everything on hold in LA and just went to Chicago. And we were living in a loft downtown and it was really cool. And we were turning that into a theater, but it was a distraction for a year, And that's when 9/11 happened incidentally. That's where I was living at the time, but
that's right.
Wild times. But LA's always been my home. It's always drawn me back. You know, same thing in New York. I wanted to go out there and do equity theater and try to get on Broadway. Is everybody's dream if you're doing theater. But I did an off Broadway show, and I was out there for a year. And once that winter hit, I was like, forget this. Yeah. I am done. Over it, man.
Well, you thought Houston was bad, and then New York, right? Or you said Chicago.
No, Chicago was cold. New York was worse.
Yeah.
Man. And once I got through that first year in New York, I was like, I gotta get out of here, man. It's way too cold. I can't do this. LA's great. You know, if we want cold, we just drive an hour and a half to the mountains.
Yeah. Or just wait till the sun goes down.
There you go.
It gets really chilly at 72.
If anybody's listening across the globe, and if you don't have climate weather, you're way. If you have inclement weather, I apologize.
Yeah.
We're lucky here.
For sure.
Don't come to California. It's way too expensive. We don't need more people here.
A good friend of mine always says, if you want to come to California, you need to contact 4 people and ask them to leave.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, I do like that.
You can't come to California until you ask 4 other people to leave.
That's it. It's too. Oh man, well, that's fantastic stuff, dude. Oh well, you know, if you want, we should take a break, grab a coffee.
Yeah, I do need a refill.
We'll get ready for our first guest.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
You're listening to The Actor Factor.
Thanks for tuning back in, everybody. This is Diego and Brad at The Actor Factor. We have our guest today, Amy Luker from the Jana Luker Agency, right here in Hollywood, California. And Amy, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
So appreciative.
I'm great. Thank you for having me, guys.
So you're number one agent, top agent here in Hollywood. How long have you been an agent? How'd you get started? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, that's a long story, Brad.
Oh, okay.
It's a loaded question, actually, right? But
we can get the Cliff Notes version.
How long is your podcast?
Well, we can edit it. We'll clip it down. No, just give us the Cliff Notes.
I've learned over time that my mom and I's story is not so unique, and that Janet and I are from Oklahoma, Tulsa originally.
Yeah.
When I was a teen, I was a model and young actor, you know, total choir club, you know, theater girl.
Sweet.
And she brought me out here starting when I was about 15. Her favorite cousin lived in Playa del Rey. Her best friend lived in Westlake Village, so we would come crash at their houses. Nice. I would audition. And through those years, we would come every summer. Jana started to get to know, because everything was in the office back then. We were at the agency first thing in the morning, being sent out on auditions all day, very different than how it works now. And so she started getting to know the other agents. They found out she had been a real estate agent all my life. And slowly she started to take an interest. And at some point when I was about, I think I was 17, and I was getting ready to go finish my senior year of high school, they offered her a job as a commercial agent. Nice. And my mom, as you know, Brad, you've met her, has a wonderful personality. She's great with people.
Yes.
And she has an amazing head for money. And, you know, it was a perfect job for her. So in the midlife, she uprooted from where she lived her whole life and started, and within, I think, 2 years, she had started the Jana Luker Agency on her own. Amazing. And then it took her about 5 more years to become SAG franchise. Back then, when you were a newbie, if nobody knew who you were, you could send them packages and they literally would not open them for like years.
Wow.
Until you proved yourself that you're here and you're not going anywhere, or you became SAG franchise, which also was a process back then. Wow. So, and here we are 30 years later. So I got to say I'm pretty damn proud of my mom, and she's a rock star. I don't think she realizes it sometimes, but we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
So that's 93, 94? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, that's when she started. I mean, we were starting to come out here in the mid-'80s. I've been in the business since I was 13.
Gotcha.
Is when we started. And then, you know, I kept acting and modeling for a while. Of course, I was at the agency all the time. I ran packages and I ran the runners around back when we used to hand deliver everything.
Yeah.
Had the wall of headshots.
Yeah.
I mean, and it evolved over time. Obviously, I left Hollywood for 12 years, had a family. I have 3 sons, and the youngest turned 18 this summer. So, and I came back to work with Jan, with my mom. People think it's funny that I call her Jana. About 12 years ago now, when I came back from Chicago. And, you know, it's weird because she always tells me that she feels like I'm even more suited to this job because she was never a movie buff and like a Hollywood, you know, like I love this business so much and I love movies and they were honestly what saved me as a kid. So I feel like the universe has put me right where I'm supposed to be.
Love that.
And my mom helped me get here, and I hope that I can keep it going. You know, we're a smaller agency, but not what I would call boutique.
Well, that would bring me to my first question, I guess, then for you.
Yeah.
How many clients do you guys have?
Right now, across commercial and theatrical, I think there's around 280.
Wow.
But theatrically, it's less. Theatrically, it's more. You know, honestly, and we're kind of flip-flopping that. We've always historically had way more commercial clients than theatrical clients. But that has been I've been changing that over the past few years because of the fact that most commercials are now non-union. I see my future as, you know, striving for more theatrical. So it's probably about 150 theatrical, but that's all ages from 4 to 99 or however old our clients get to be. We've had some clients 25 years or more.
Yeah.
That have been with us. Yeah.
That's tough to hear, like, as a commercial actor out here that, you know, years ago, it was like you get into commercials and then you hope to get a TV gig out of it or a film. And then there was a time when all the actors that were only doing commercials internationally started doing them and taking them from
That's right. The
young actors that are just trying to get started. So, like, the whole game has been switched around.
Well, you know, where some people put the moment together, and of course we all love this performance, was when Robin Williams was hired to do the voice of Aladdin, is when voiceover started to change to famous and commercials followed. I knew a client who supposedly repped, or a manager that repped someone that was up against JT Walsh for those insurance commercials. And I remember when they released the breakdown, and probably tell the secrets I shouldn't tell, it was like, we want a JT Walsh type, right? And so the guy who almost got it was his type, but they went all the way through the callback. But of course, his client, his agent called and said, why not hire him? So it was like they it became like a negotiating tactic with the bigger star. And say, well, we could just find someone like you, but you know, we would rather have you, but you know.
That's right. Wow.
But it's true, and I think about, Jimmy feels like 80% is non-union. It keeps going up.
And well, for the listeners who don't know, Jimmy Garrity is your assistant, or is your second in command, or is a co-agent? What does Jimmy do?
Yeah, I mean, he's not an agent, he's assistant, but he's also a part business owner.
There you go. Okay. Yes. That's Jimmy Garrity. He's amazing.
He's not a submitter. Yes, he's on it every day. He's the reason why people get all these fabulous auditions on the roster. And
it's funny, before we got in with you, Diego and I, we always start off and we talk for 5 to 10 minutes and just catch each other up on our days and what we've been doing. And it's funny because I'm just kind of getting down as an actor. I feel like I'm not booking. He just auditioned for a spot yesterday, a commercial spot. I've auditioned for we were talking, I think statistically, if you book 1 in 50, I should have booked 3 by now, and it's just like, oh my God. So God bless Jimmy.
It's frustrating.
It's good that we have, rock star agents who don't give up on us and know that we can book and we will book, and it's just a matter of time because, most of the time it's out of our control, right? It's up to the casting director, right? Or the director.
Ultimately, it's out of our control except for the fact of giving you as an option, and what we can say to sell you to that casting director. But that kind of style is very different now. I mean, there is pitching, but it's not like the old days where everybody was picking up the phone and the phones were reading off the hooks. It's more subtle emails. But this is how I look at it, Brad. This is what I tell all my clients because I understand the frustration. I feel like the fact that I used to be a person who auditioned. For instance, I was in this world. I did it for 8 years. I never booked a national commercial. All those years when I was a teen. And I would get to the call back and I would get to the call, and it was and it just never happened. And it was just, and so I do really understand how the actors feel, which I hope gives me more empathy for what you guys go through when we're, going through this. But if you're auditioning, you're a working actor.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
And you never stop auditioning, Brad.
That's right.
You just gotta keep, and it's a long game. Nobody ever wants to hear that in the beginning, and I understand that. But it is, I think those of us who've been in this business as long as 3 of us have that, we understand that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, we discussed that on a former episode with someone else. Exactly that is it. It's a long game. There's no such thing as an overnight success.
It's a career choice, so therefore it's something.
Yeah.
It's a career choice. So therefore that's something I've already accepted, that I'm just going to do the rest of my life in all forms, whatever creative comes my way, specifically in the audition.
It's a sacrifice, just like any other type of artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Why I know it's my clients, and I mean, I don't know you as well, Diego, but Brad, I know how much he loves acting.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Oh,
he
yeah.
lives and breathes and wouldn't be who he is without it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of client I love to represent, because I know they understand, and I know they're doing it for the right reasons. It doesn't mean that they're still not going to have the highs and lows. But that's true even for a lot of successful actors, unless you're in that top golden 5%,
That's true.
It's a journey for sure.
Yeah, never give up. Never go home, It's like you got to never give up. Because you never know. All it takes is that one audition, and that it gets you in, and then something runs. I think when we were doing Animal Kingdom, that's a prime example right there. Because I think I was talking to you about that. The guy, Alex Mraz, I'm going to name drop. Hi, Alex. He's actually a buddy of mine, but he was cast as the main bad guy in that season, in the second season. And when he ended up booking a pilot. And so he wanted out of that show. And so we only got.
Remember this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were supposed to be multiple seasons, and that would have been started a series regular role for us. And he had told us that because after 3 episodes, he was negotiating his contract to get out because he had booked this pilot scalp. He was going to go to Arizona and shoot. And if the pilot goes, he's the lead, blah, blah, blah. Even though they were bringing his character and our gang in as the next big gang. And that would have been the thing to take off, And they ended up killing him off. Yeah, they ended up. Yeah, so you never know. You never know.
It's so true.
Yeah, and then they put bullets in people's heads.
I always think of the people who turned down the roles in Friends. There was a couple of people in the original who, it's just this little, and that's what's so crazy about our town. I don't know if you guys watched Paul Newman's documentary on HBO.
Who's Paul Moon?
Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
Yes.
Oh, no.
There's a documentary on HBO Max that's amazing. That's about him and, his whole life journey. And there was one thing I didn't know was one of his first big breaks he only got because James Dean passed away.
Oh, wow.
And then he continued to get all the roles that would have probably gone to James Dean if he had been alive.
Wow.
They had a very similar kind of brooding. Not that I want to compare the two, I'm not going to do that, but they were very different, obviously, style actors. But Cool Hand Luke is one of my all-time favorite movies. So.
Yeah.
Cool Hand Luke was on the TV 3 or 4 days ago. I was scrolling and I saw that incidentally because I have a rat terrier and his name is Luke. And I was like, oh, Cool Hand Luke. So I was like, just making that.
Well, my last name's Luker.
Luker, there you go.
Luker to my dad. It's one of my dad's nicknames was Cool Hand Luke, and I'm not going to explain that either.
That's super cute.
Awesome. So for an actor who would, want to submit to your agency, or do you have any advice for actors like that in the form of that if somebody was interested in submitting, or if somebody was new, or is there?
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for?
If somebody sent you something, would they? What are you hoping to see on that page?
Resume? Do they need a lot of credits? Do they need more theater, more film? What?
It depends on what they're looking for as far as representation. If someone is new and comes at me non-union with no credits, and they just want theatrical, that's going to be really tough.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And they're not in SAG. Unless, obviously kids are that exception.
Right.
If I find a really strong gem and a child that's good at theatrical, which I find to be a rare thing, honestly.
For sure.
So, but if someone, and I think that's the part where there's kind of this disconnect. I get the big dreams. I get that they've been in these theater programs, acting programs that are more about, they want TV and film, right? That's what everybody really wants.
Yeah.
Nobody really sets out in this business to be a commercial artist or a commercial actor.
That's right.
But the ones who understand that it is a business, when you're starting out in non-union, that's how you get your feet wet. That's how we learn to trust you as a client. For us to put you up for a big role for any studio, whether it's a co-star up to a series regular, there has to be a level of experience and trust between me and the client as well, and that takes time, and that frustrates some people, I found.
Sure.
That they want us to, go whole hog, or they don't understand why I won't take them, if I really believed in them, then I would take them theatrically and not care about the commercial. But they have to understand that it's my business.
That's right.
So, the reason why I need them across the board and if they're going to be developmental is so that they can make some money doing commercials as they're building up their resume. And it is that, there's those people, sometimes people can jump forward if they have an extreme special skill, a foreign language. There are, if someone, and then so that's what I would say is if there's something that sets you apart, you want to make sure that is in your subject line, whether it's I speak this language or I have this skill. I get a lot of very generic ones from these services now that actors hire. I get about 60 unsolicited submissions a day right now because I've gotten on some of these lists, and I really don't like the way that they have them be super aggressive. They'll email me 2 or 3 times whether I respond or not, and say things like, "Oh, I'm circling back." And I'm like, are you circling back? It's not to be mean, but it's like, it's kind of like it's not, that's, I don't know, I think other agents would agree with me, it kind of turns us off. So I like straightforward, honest. If I see something in that subject line that intrigues me, I'm going to click, whether you're non-union or not. So I do think the subject line is super important. And I also prefer at least your headshot to be embedded in the email before I have to click anything.
Yeah.
To see anything else, that's another thing. If I open it and all it is a little blurb and it's literally less than a paragraph and there's nothing where I have to click the link to see everything else, those are the ones that, I don't know. And then right now, I think, we're growing. We're actually building up the kids department right now. But we are always looking for strong theatrical clients who do have credits, because obviously that makes it easier for us to pitch and get them the opportunity that they're, at the very least SAG, and hopefully have a couple of co-stars, or you can tell from their resume that they're out there hustling, that they're, they got student films, short films they're doing with their friends. Honestly, I mean, that's kind of where we're at in this business. It's not enough just to be one thing.
It's true.
And actors all have to be like their own business people, your social media, your, that's become a big factor that
I feel like it's more so of a full-time job now too, because when, back in the day, you used to go into a room to audition, and now you pretty much don't, except for the occasional commercial, I guess. And, maybe there are, do I guess the second part of my question, are there a lot of theatricals that are happening in-house? Because the first part of it is, it's your own business, and you have to tape at your house, have good audio, good lighting, and you got to edit your audition together and then submit it in time, either to your agent or to Actors Access or to any other, site that you have to upload it to. So that's another part of the business as well that's changed.
And then the people who don't have that knowledge or ability are having to go sometimes pay to have it done.
You're right.
Which is one of the things about that I get very defensive, like when I feel like actors seem to get nickel and dimed across the board sometimes with so many different things, and they're just, even when they're just starting out, and that's frustrating to me.
It's like you go to a headshot photographer who's shooting you all digital now, and they want to charge you $700, and you're like, "What? It's just digital, man."
I'm better than that.
But I'm saying,
I have better people than that. Cheaper.
I've got an iPhone 14 Pro. I'll do it. Takes great photos.
It actually does, though. I've considered it.
And I don't think, from what I'm hearing, is there's 2 things I'm hearing. One thing is it's not going to go back to NRAC or theatricals.
Oh, wow.
Even like I had a client get hired in the Zoom meeting with the person who was writing the film. Like, they hired her on the spot and never had met her in person yet, and it's like those things are happening, and they'll have, the only thing I can't understand is how they can have a chemistry read. Like, those things like that obviously need to be in person.
Sure.
I don't think that works on Zoom.
It's a little difficult.
But then the flip side, and one reason commercially they are going back to more in person is these people, they were hiring all these people from all over, different, people who maybe were new. But what they were thinking about was that actor may have done 50 takes before they sent in that self-tape.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get on set and they can't nail it.
They can't provide, and these guys' time is money. They don't have time for you to.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've heard that as a complaint, though, which I would say is a pro for going back to in person. But I think that affects, obviously the commercial more, because they're obviously definitely time is money and they don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
But even theatrically, I could see that being an issue if they're not careful. And I think some of the callbacks will be in person and things like that. And what it's done is it's opened up the market. So you don't have, a lot of shows insist that you're an LA local.
That's right.
Yeah.
but it's opened up a lot more to now. I mean, I have clients now in Oklahoma, Iowa, Michigan, which I never did before. You know, like that's not something we ever.
Yeah, you guys, aren't you in Chicago now?
Yeah, we opened up. We decided we would see if it would work, and we opened it. I think September is when we started, or August.
Nice.
And we're definitely getting a lot of auditions. We've only had like one booking, but we're going to let it ride.
Okay.
And we have a lot of clients that can be locals there. And plus we have I've been taking on clients that live there locally. But it's still a limited market. You know, it's kind of an experiment. We'll see how it goes.
No, yeah.
You got nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And as an actor, you have
to pay breakdowns for the breakdowns, but like, hopefully, you know, with one booking, it pays for it.
Hey, listen, if you want me to give you a couple bucks for the breakdowns, I'm happy to look at.
Submitting you for all those.
I'm happy to look.
We're both local hires in all those places you just said.
I'm local hire across the globe. Where do you need me? No. You know, and that's another thing too, because I do have representation in the Southeast, and so I do have another agent out that way as well. So, and I recommend to other actors, if you can get an agent, you know, on the other side of the world, go and do it, because they can submit you for other projects that are out there as well. The thing you have to understand is you're going to have to go in the beginning, definitely as a local hire, which means you got to pay your flight out there. You got to pay your car rental. First of all, you're going to have to tell casting directors that you live there. And then you got to be able to get in town the next day for a COVID test, and then, you know, and then go.
And they're wise to what everybody's doing, right? So they're starting to get more specific. Like I know one of the casting directors in PA, like it was becoming an issue, so they started asking for addresses.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I know I have an address in Atlanta. I've got an address in Charleston. But
that's why I love you, Brad.
Yeah, they do. You gotta hustle. You gotta get out there and work. And the thing is,
in Atlanta again?
she's in Charleston, South Carolina. It's Soul Talent. It's Vanessa Adams in Soul Talent. Yeah, and but she does have an office in Atlanta as well.
Tons of people from South Carolina at a showcase, and I was trying to figure out how I could rep them from here, but maybe she's back there, huh? That's cool.
You know, but no, you can take people. I think you could probably just crush those markets. If you're getting out in Chicago anyways, you might have some reach out into Texas and Louisiana. If you're getting breakdowns for any of those places anyhow, it's not hard. You know, and the thing is, out there in the Southeast, they only have like 3, maybe 4 real agencies out there. So it's really difficult for people to get in because they're already kind of maxed out, you know? And they don't, like my agents, I've got friends who are like, get me in. I'm like, I swear, they send emails every year saying, don't send us people. We don't need any more. Or they'll send saying, hey, we're looking for new clients, just this type or whatever, you know? And then if you have a friend, you go and submit them. But
yeah, super difficult.
And we share a couple of clients with the Joy Purvis Purvis Talent Agency, and they're really wonderful. But I know one of the people I submitted to them, I mean, he's huge credits, guest star level.
Yeah.
And it was still, I pushed, you know, because I know they, like what you say, they're kind of saturated too at the same time. And there's stuff going on everywhere now. And I think that is, you know, one thing that actors in the LA market are feeling. Yeah. Is they're feeling like so many things are now shooting elsewhere. And part of that problem is, of course, governmental, political, you know, the tax breaks.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
There are some of these states that whether you like them or not, like my home state, for instance, whether, you know, because they gave amazing tax incentives, but the only thing about Oklahoma is the darn weather. They can only shoot like 3 times a year.
Yeah, you got tornadoes. That's right.
I picked up a few clients back there because there's shows like Reservation Dogs and Village of the Firemen about to come out. Tulsa King just came out that was shot in my hometown.
Nice.
So, you know, I figure now that I you know, Jana, when she retired, moved back there, so I go there often. So, you know, as an agent, I can never turn my agent brain off. I see everywhere I go. I'm, you know, like, it's like I try not to be that all the time. So, of course, I started connecting with the Oklahoma Film Commission and going to events. And so now I rep a couple of people that run Res Dogs. And I'm just, you know, I'm really excited about it. But it's also, you know, I just feel like it's opened things up. And during the pandemic, we realized that we can do our work. We don't necessarily have to be in LA.
No, that's right.
Whether you're an actor or an agent or a man, you know, everyone's kind of.
And a lot of different businesses. I keep talking about this a lot to everyone. That's kind of the best thing that came out of pandemic is everyone realized how to get rid of the middleman in some sense.
Yeah,
you know, they can do more from home. than wasting all that time getting somewhere and setting up and coming back from that place. So,
and the companies too are saving money on not paying rent on those facilities because think about buildings, especially y'all's office. Amy, it's like, gosh, geez, that building it's extravagant. I can only imagine the real estate write-off in Terra Boulevard there. It's like not cheap, and that's a cost you guys have to have, and then you gotta. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, we ended up. We shut the office, the physical office.
Yeah.
During the pandemic.
Yep.
We had unfortunately just signed like a 6-month extension right before that happened.
Oh my
So
God.
we wrote that one out. Yeah, we closed it out, and we're a virtual office now.
Yeah.
And so far, it's worked for us. Like
Absolutely.
we SAG, and we're as a SAG franchise agency. And so far, that's been satisfactory for them since the pandemic, but they can, usually a brick and mortar office was always required, like to the point where we would have to send them pictures of the office to prove that we had it.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. But I think Jana actually called them when they started saying maybe they were going to require that again. And she was like, first of all, it wasn't fair because all the huge agencies also downsized. Most of their staffs are working from home now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think what she basically said to them is, you want agencies like ours to survive, it's time to let go of that because everybody's working from home. That's why I think so many people choose management instead of being an agent sometimes, because they don't have to go through all of that.
Oh.
All the requirements that are required of us as a SAG franchise agency. But at the same time, that SAG franchise is something I know my mom is very proud of, and we will always honor what,
Yes.
the requirements. But I do feel like that's obviously for all businesses that's shifting away. I don't see our business going back to insisting that everyone has an office.
Yeah, I mean, it's been working for the past couple of years too, going on 3 now, whatever this is. So it's
And I always said, Jimmy and I said, if we felt like it was hindering us, we would make change. But so far, it hasn't seemed to affect our ability to attract clients. That's where the 30-year reputation comes into play, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Jimmy, as before he did this, had been a client for 25 years. We've known each other for a long time. So the year I had my first son, I think, is when we met.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
And we have a lot of clients the same, which I love, and that we, I hope it says a lot about us as an agency.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Your clients stay with you. They don't jump ship. It's like, it's good. It's like, it's a family, and you want to stay with those people. Loyalty
is key, right?
And you want to work with people that know you, and know you the best, because they know when they're submitting you,
no surprises. There's confidence from both ends. You can trust the client to do and get the work done when you send them to set.
Hopefully.
Definitely. One of the things I wanted to say too, that I forgot to say earlier about materials that made me think of it, is one of the harder things too is when people are coming back and they're still looking at it from how it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Is making them realize that, yes, I love your resume and I love that you did all the theater and your reel from 20 years ago is super cute. But but they have to get something, even if it's not like because it used to be that you had to have real credits to make a reel.
Yeah.
But now the reel comes first, which is so that's the idea of them knowing that when they're approaching an agent, they have to have something on tape.
Something current.
And a reel, because even to get a co-star, you're not going to get the audition if you don't have something.
Good to know. That's good to know.
I mean, I guess I applaud people that want to come back into it after all those years.
Yeah,
but
they want to see what you look like right now. They don't care.
That's right. But still, it's still you're starting from the ground up, basically, because it's about being current. It's like you said, always just getting involved. Just like what Brad does. Like, he's literally the ultimate actor. It's like, if there's some dead space, I need to fill that with something creative, and let's go do it. But those are the type of people that you'll need if you're going to jumpstart your acting career after 20 years. You still have to have that energy and go for it attitude like you would have 20 years ago.
Like, you're still starting out from it's still going to be the co-stars start.
5 and unders. I mean, you got to
realize that at that age, it might, that might be your niche. Is being a strong character actor is a niche. You may not always get the big roles, but you can work steadily.
Yeah.
So it's like, it depends on how, what your aspirations are, I guess.
It's true.
And the other advice I would give is, and I know we've probably said this to Brad, but he has tons of photos to choose from, is you don't have to have 10 or 12, but having a variety of photos is way more important than people think. And then the other thing is what we encourage is people who are just starting out who want to build co-stars to sit down and be honest with themselves and be like, what are my 5 top characters that I can portray in that level? You know what I mean? I'm not talking leads and, like, was it a nurse? Was it a young mom? Simple things like that. A young student, a doctor, an army, soldier. And then having a headshot that goes with each of those looks, and having a short 30-second clip reel that goes with each of those looks.
That's taking it
and having that, like, and that's how, like, those are the people that feature, getting in there, getting their co-stars. And that's, getting on set is the battle, right? If you're great at your craft and easy to work with, and, like, once you get on there, building that reputation is really what that's all about.
That's
less than you caring about that under 5 or no line. It's all, there's so much about relationships, and which I know you both know, but
yeah, but for the listeners out there at home need to know, it is about relationships. At the end of the day, it's about who you know, not what you know, because your friends are going to cast you. You can get cast.
It's not just who you know, but it's being someone that's a joy to work with, somebody that, because when you're on a set, it's like a tight family.
That's right.
So when they choose to bring you into that world, especially when you're a co-star, think about it, they're already a tight group. You're just someone that's coming in and going out.
That's right.
They don't want you messing up their vibe they got going on.
And sometimes, people forget that. And so the main thing is, not being an asshole.
100%. No, that's true.
Being kind.
Those days are done.
And humble, and all those things.
That's right.
And I think most actors are. I think most actors, are so thankful when they get to do, it's so exciting to drive onto that set, see the trailers. I get excited still when I see them on the side of the road.
Yeah. Well, every time I pass a yellow sign, and then I start seeing the trucks, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get my call sheet. Like, what's going on?
That's right.
And where's my call sheet, guys? But I'll still sneak over to Crafty though. No, but it's.
I wanted to tell you, I went to the Heller Awards last week. I was very honored by a nomination this year, and I ran into Darren. And she said her words. I told her we were working together, and her words were that you were a brilliant actor. You were always so brilliant.
Oh,
so I meant to tell you that.
Huh.
You really are. Huh?
She was like, "He's just so amazing. He's such an amazing actor," and I was like, "I know."
Well, cool.
All right. Well, that's the actor factor.
No, that's cool.
No,
that's cool. How cool. And what was
brilliant? Even like its alliteration, Brad is brilliant.
Brad is brilliant. What was the award? What was the award?
It was the Heller Awards, which is put on. I think it's been around for about 30 years. The Talent Managers Association puts on the Heller Awards to honor excellence in casting and representation. It's the only award show that recognizes agents and managers.
Love that.
How cool.
As well as casting directors. So it was a great event. I got to meet and see a lot of people I'd never met before, which is part of the point, and getting us all together in one room. And they had this event in 3 years, so it was my first time being a part of this organization, and all the money that they raise by throwing the events is then donated to the Actors Fund.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And
congratulations.
It's more about how you represent your clients is what you're less than like the top bookers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So they separated. That's why I think Joy purchased one for Best Southeast Theatrical Agents, and they have one for New York, and they have one for here, as well as managers and casting directors. So it was super fun.
I love that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was.
Stuff we didn't even know what's going on, It's just, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of new for me too, but I guess like Betty White was one of the people that helped get it started years ago. And
how amazing. She was an amazing, amazing woman.
I know. And she will live forever, which is amazing. Awesome.
Funny, you remember Off Her Rockers, right? Betty White, Off Her Rockers? Her little prank show. So get this, I was working at the Geffen Playhouse years ago, and that show was, I guess, maybe in its second season. The Geffen was great. I was just doing my little stuff over there, and I was walking through Westwood, and I was watching that show at the time. I thought it was hilarious. I was watching that show on TV. And then I happened to be walking through Westwood down there by UCLA, going to get lunch. And then I got approached by one of these old ladies, and it was the woman from the show. And she walked up and started asking me, she goes, hey, do you know where I can find Molly? I'm looking for my friend Molly. And she was talking about the drug, but and then I started looking around, and I saw a guy across the street with the baby buggy, and it had black stuff material over it. And then I saw another guy with the camera, and I was like, oh God, I'm on the show. And so I started playing along with her, and I was like, oh yeah, I got some really good Molly. We can go around the corner, I'll hook you up. And she was like, oh, so she was kind of taken aback by it. It was kind of neat. But that was my 6 degrees of separation to my Betty White. I got to it was
That's awesome.
That was a cute show.
That was a cute show. She was adorable and hilarious.
She was fantastic. So, your days. How does it usually start off? You get up in the morning with a cup of coffee. You get into the breakdowns. You just start blasting, submitting, and it's you just start.
After I look at my phone for an hour and a half.
Is that? Yeah. No.
No, I actually do. It's like an Asian. Like my friend teases me. She's like, "There's always." And so whenever she sees me, it's like there's always a coffee, and my cell phone's right there.
Yeah.
The agent uniform.
It really doesn't stop.
My phone is like right next to me when I sleep, which I know is bad. And I have tried to do this thing where I don't look at my phone like the first hour I get up, but it never works.
That has to be.
And then, so usually I look at my phone first, make sure nothing, no casting directors emailed in the middle of the night, which does happen.
Yeah.
And I check my emails really quick, and usually it's a lot of deleting too, and then I make my coffee. And then the first part of the day is catching up on emails.
Yeah.
And I have this kind of routine where there's usually like a documentary on in the background.
Nice.
Like busy noise now that I work from home full time.
Yeah.
And the first part of my day kind of whizzes by, super high on coffee. But then Jimmy and I get together in person twice a week. One day a week he comes to my place over here in Santa Monica. One day a week I go to his place in North Hollywood so that we can talk about all the different people that we may be interviewing separately or adding to the roster, and catching up and doing meetings with our clients and lunches. So there's all that scattered. Now that you don't have that consistency of the office, like we had when I first started, it was very different. I can kind of make my day the way I want it. Jimmy does the bulk of the submitting for the agency, so that's basically all he does, except for, and then sending out the auditions and making sure the actors are confirmed, making sure they're paid fair and on time, which allows me to handle all the other parts of the business of being an agent, which is closing, invoicing, all that fun stuff.
It doesn't sound like
following up on avails, following up on pins.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like there's like a checkout point of the day anymore. It's like it's just ongoing work, always thinking about it. What do you do to finally sort of like relax and just have time for yourself? Is there, do you step away a little bit?
We were just talking about this at the Heller Awards, me and some of the other agents who've been in the business as long as me. And that's the trade-off. It doesn't end. It can, I one time, I'm not going to say who.
It's true.
But it was a Sunday morning. I was at brunch. It was like before my friend's wedding. It was like a big, and I didn't respond for 2 hours to something that a casting director sent, and I got chewed out.
Oh, no.
And it was a Sunday, and that was one of the things that Jana, when she retired, that's the part of the business she did not like. Because she was like, they used to call at the end of the day on a Friday to book someone, and then he would respond on Monday. And it's so when they started getting like, now, she didn't like that. Like, she wasn't a fan of that. But now, and that's, I think, I know, it's my job, whether I like it or not. My kids understand it. If I happen to be dating someone, I have to explain it that I'm sorry, but we might be in a movie and I might have to get up. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
At the same time, my life, I like working from home, though. And again, that's what we're saying. Like, there's so many positive things that have happened. The fact that I could be anywhere in this country and still do my job because of Zoom and because of email, because of my phone, and be able to go spend time with my mom in these years as she's getting older. It's like, it's worth all of that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all the time, obviously. And if it is happening a lot, it's because I'm busy and a lot of people are booking, so I'm never going to complain about that.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, yeah. So it's my job, just like Jimmy and the submitting, as soon as stuff comes out, my job is responding to the casting directors.
Yeah.
As soon as they reach out to me, as quickly as possible. And I hope that's one of the reasons that they like me, is I'm, you know, being, you know, making their job easier is part of our job.
That's right. You know, LA used to be the hurry up and wait city, and I feel like now it's like, just hurry up and give it to me. Like, just hurry up and give it.
There's no wait.
There's no moment.
You know,
that's right. And now,
sometimes I'm like, just call me. Like, if it's that urgent, just call me. But then I have like 10 emails instead. I'm like,
that's right.
You know, because as much as we try to be on our phones every second, obviously things come up, doctor's appointments and
that's right.
dinners, and you know, I do try to balance it, and I have, you know, Jimmy and I try to do that for each other, because obviously there are times when we both will have something going on and have to cover for the other person.
Yeah.
But we do it on purpose too, because we know, like, especially for Jimmy, because I did it for 8 years when I first started at the agency. That's all I did was submit. And it gets monotonous. I mean, it's fun too sometimes, but it becomes just like anything else. So I make sure, I'm like, okay, are you good? You know, you can ask for a break. You can have a day off, you know, because I know it gets, you know, your eyes start to, you know, wobble.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
and he loves it. He's still in the, you know, and I think that, you know, but anyone can get burnt out over time. So, and I love submitting too. So I like to kick them off sometimes and be like, okay, it's my turn. Like, I want to see what's going on. And then we have this, in our team, like a lot of people ask us how to get this, because we have a big roster. How do we pitch? Like, how are we able to keep track?
That's right.
Throughout the day. Well, it's super simple. Every time when he's in the midst of pitching, when he sees something that's pitchable for a client at that level, he texts me and he says, Amy, send a pitch, you know, and that's how we do that. So it's super simple, and that has worked really well for us.
And so since you have a good handful of clients, is there something you do so you don't forget them all? I mean, do you just scroll through headshots online so you can remember faces and be like, oh, yeah, I remember this guy, I remember that girl? Or do you do something like that? Or do you just
one of the nice things is we do have so many long-time clients that
they're all in your
memory
head.
for faces.
Yeah.
It's really Jimmy adding some of the new people that I have to, you know, and that's why I like to step in and submit, like, you know, so every so often, so that I keep abreast of the new people.
Yeah.
I don't have any trouble remembering the other people. And as we all know, as dry as it sounds, when they're, you know, they're looking for a special skill, special language, you know, you're going in, you're doing a search based on the parameters of the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes a little bit of that. I mean, it's actually, in a way, I feel like people get more coverage than when we were sitting there writing it down and pulling their pictures from the wall.
Yeah.
But we had a smaller roster theatrically at that time, but still, we had a wall with, like, I think it was 200 plus on it.
Yeah.
And we can submit more now. Like, back then, it really wasn't good form to submit more than maybe 5 to 10 at the most, and that was pushing it on a co-star.
Oh, wow.
On a guest star, maybe just a few, whereas when you're doing it online, the way it works, you know, you're able to submit more at once.
Oh, good.
You're able to be more crafty with it, because, you know, say you look at the next breakdown, you know, they come out with a second breakdown for that same project, and you're like, oh, wait, my client's way better for this role. And that you can switch it up, you know.
Oh, good.
Or go back and, yeah. So I feel like it's commercially, of course, it makes it super easy, because commercial, you know, and because we're not a huge agency, though, I think that we do get a lot of co-star auditions because we aren't submitting 25 people for each role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of the big agencies are doing that. I know that there's some agents that submit all, you know. Like,
of course.
But we try to be much more.
A little more selective. Yeah. You want to send kind of your best, you know, because it's a representation of you, and you want to put your best foot forward instead of, like you said, because you get those actors who take 300 takes on their camera at home, and then, you know, they're not really good when they show up. So you kind of want to make sure everybody is good. And I think that's one of the things I really miss just about, you know, you guys or everybody not really having offices, and we're kind of going away from that in-person stuff, because driving by and stopping by and just saying, oh, hey, I'm in town, or I'm in the area here. Here's a gift card to Starbucks. Just remember my face. Say I'm Brad. Remember I'm a client of yours. You know, those days.
It does get lonely. It does get lonely, you guys, like working from home sometimes too, especially now I have an empty nest.
Yeah.
But It is. I do miss facets of it, especially this time of year, because this time of year, things slow down a little, and it was always the time of year when all the clients would stop by. And
bringing gift baskets.
Our client Chris Fairbanks and his wife, Elisa Sermon, have been with us for many years. We had this tradition where they would show up with spumani and fresh oranges. And we would just, and they would come towards the end of the day, so we could sit there and have some wine and drink, and just catch up. And I do miss that. And I do try really hard to connect with my clients and do lunches and connect with them in person. I try to.
You absolutely do. I mean, I've hung out with you a couple of times and I loved it. And especially back in the days when I'm sober now, everybody who doesn't know. But yeah, back in the days when I used to drink, you and I've had a couple of drinks together. Like it's, yeah. I enjoy that not because, go out and party, but just because you can hang out with your agent. They can kind of gauge your personality, get to know who you are. And they're like, oh shit. Because the front who we put on when we're trying to get an agent is pretty different from who I think we generally are.
Of course, just like, it's true for everyone. I mean, we all have our business persona, we all have our public persona. But it is true, when we're in our business, it's deeper than that, and the trust level, and I love that I still have a small enough roster that I really can get to know my clients.
Yeah.
And I think that the smart clients like you, they reach out every once in a while, not in like all the time or in an annoying way, but they, hey, how's it going? I'm over here, or like your voice text that you sent me, like, those just made my morning when I would get those, like when you're rapping, it was just like, and you'd be surprised how rare that is, how few clients, reach out. And I would say that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, a client will leave or say, and they're mad and they'll think like, well, I haven't heard from you and, this many months or whatever. And I'm like, but I haven't, and I'll go to my email and be like, oh my God, did I not return an email? And sometimes I'll find that is the case, that I missed an email and they have every right, to be annoyed. But a lot of times there's no